Okay, can you hear that? Oh shit. Yeah, that's working. So Hayden, you won the UTMB Triple C for the second time, and prior to that, you came in third at Western States in your first miler after knee surgery in 2023. You set a new CR or a course record at Black Canyon 100k on your season return, and podiumed in 2 more European races. It was an outstanding year that led to you being named Ultra Runner of the Year by Trail Running Magazine and number 2 by Freetail. Pretty amazing year, eh?
Oh, thank you.
Was there an accolade or accomplishment or goal that eluded you that you really wanted but it didn't happen?
Yeah, I think for me, like, I can't say there was like I feel bad or like I feel like there was any race that I didn't get the best out of myself last year. I felt like I did probably the best I could, especially coming off of a knee surgery in 2023. Like, to be honest with you, like 2024 was supposed to just be like a year to focus on getting my health back and getting like back to myself again and seeing what I could do, building back some good fitness and some good base. So like going into like Western States and CCC, like that was kind of the goal, was like, what can I do? You know, what can I do with new health? How can I like accomplish what I know I can accomplish when I'm healthy? And yeah, you know, I took third at Western States, which of course I would have liked to win. But to be completely honest with you, I did about the best that I could on that day. I raced the best race that I could on that day. I just didn't have the complete fitness that I needed to win a race like that. So I hope that this year, you know, I can go into Western States with that fitness. I felt like throughout 2024, it just continued to build. Like each race built on each other, and it's continued to kind of keep going that way throughout the fall and now into, you know, this winter or summer here in New Zealand. And I feel like 2025 is going to be a very special year because I feel even better going into this year than I did going into 2024. And yeah, hopefully it all works out that way.
Awesome. So, other than Western States, what's the plan for 2025?
Yeah, so 2025, I have a pretty big schedule. Of course, I'll start here at Tarawera 50K. Really excited to run some 50Ks early on. The 50Ks, I'm just focusing on 50Ks early on to kind of keep the momentum going with my training.
Yep.
I don't want to have to run 100K and then have to take, or a 100 miler and then take a big break. I want to continue to build block after block and just really build my fitness up to a point where I'm fast enough or I'm fit enough to be able to win Western States, to be able to break the course record at Western States if the day permits. And so yeah, I will be doing mostly 50Ks this spring. I'll run Western States the end of June, and then I'll run UTMB actually the end of August. So I'll be doing the double, everybody calls it the double. And yeah, really excited for that and to see where I can go with my fitness.
Wow. So kicking off with the 50k at Tarawera, it's one that you've been back to New Zealand a few times. What is it about this New Zealand, the New Zealand event that keeps you coming back?
Yeah, me and my family, we've just really fallen in love with New Zealand, to be completely honest with you. We love it here. I'm not much of a winter person. I don't like skiing. I really don't like snow. I want to continue to have summer as long as I can. So I'm like, hey, why not come down here to the Southern Hemisphere, for winter. And so it's a good way for us to escape the winter, to come down here and get really fit. Of course, I'm good friends with Dan Jones. Yeah. He lives down here in New Zealand. So we're able to train together down here and just have a great, blocks of training and get very, very fit. New Zealand's amazing. The people, the culture, we just completely love it, and it's become a second home to us. And we're just really embracing that Kiwi lifestyle, and we'll continue to come back here for many years to come.
Okay, so moving away from that, what advice, do you have for people early in their ultra marathon journey? what are the fundamental things that they should be focusing on?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that people could focus on at the beginning of their ultramarathon journey or like beginning of their running career. Some simple things that I think could have really helped me at the beginning of my career was, I think number one, it's always got to be rooted in having fun and enjoying what you're doing.
Yeah.
You need to be signing up for events that are fun, that are what you want to do and that challenge you. I know it's scary. It can be scary to run 100 miles. It can be scary to run a big mountain race in the Alps or whatever it is. But like, it's okay to be scared. It's okay to take risks. Like, throw yourself in there because you never know what you're going to do or if you're going to fall in love with it. Like, that's how my career started. Is I threw myself into the Speed Goat 50K, which is, a very challenging race in Utah. Didn't even know anything about ultra running, didn't know anything about how to fuel, anything like that. But I did know that I loved the mountains, I loved the trails, and it excited me. And so I did it. And that's how I got going as an ultra runner. I completely fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy that I decided to make that jump and do that. I think some other things, fueling, definitely focus on fueling early in your career. Learn how to fuel, learn how to eat, because I'm telling you, I would have had a lot less painful races if I would have been eating properly and hydrating properly. And so I think it's important to train the gut and just really focus on dialing in your fueling and your hydration early in your career. That is the number one thing that either makes or breaks races, is fueling. And then I'd say the third thing is just be consistent with your training. I see so many people that they get on this high and they just get on this streak where they're running all the time, and then they burn themselves out and all of a sudden they're just not running at all. Or they take a couple days off and then that leads to 3, 4, and then it leads to weeks off. You just have to be consistent each and every day. Even if you can only get out for 15 minutes, get out for that 15 minutes. Make that effort to get out the door and just be consistent day in and day out, because it's not about a week or two of training that's going to get you fit. It's about years and years and years of consistent training. The reason I am the athlete I am today, because I've been consistently training and doing what I'm doing for almost 18 years now. And it's that base and that's that years of experience that has made me who I am today. It's not just one block or one race that does that.
Yeah. So you talked about nutrition there, and that's what we're going to be heading on to now. If you and you talked about getting it right, but if you get it wrong in a race, it's game over, and we know that. Okay, what are your golden rules to race nutrition?
Yeah, I think the number one thing with nutrition, people talk about high carbs all the time. They talk about, this and that, and there's all these different ways that people are trying to fuel. But I think we focus so much on the fueling side of things, but we forget the hydration side of things a lot of the time. And hydration is everything. You cannot fuel high carbs, you cannot fuel how you want to without hydration. Because if you get dehydrated, it won't work. Your gut will not be able to handle the amount of carbohydrates you're putting in because you're dehydrated. Dehydration is the number one thing that's going to make you fall apart or bonk or have a bad race at the end of the race or what it is. So I think it's important to focus on your hydration and getting that down. I think a lot of people are underhydrating, and they don't know what the proper hydration is for them. So I always encourage people, when I coach athletes and I talk to people all the time, I encourage them to get a sweat test done. Precision does sweat tests. Sweat test is the number one test that you can get done. People talk about, VO2 max test and this and that. Yeah, those can be important down the road, but those are not the number one test that you should be getting. Sweat testing is the number one, the most important test that you can get, because if you get your electrolytes down and know exactly what your sodium concentration is, then you can train your gut to be able to handle that, and you can get your hydration down. And then that hydration will allow you to fuel high carbs. It'll allow you to do so much. So focus on your hydration. Focus on, like, I think most people aren't getting enough. Focus on training your gut to handle more liquid volume, and figure out what your sweat rate is, what your sodium concentration is. And if you can get those numbers down, I promise you it'll help a lot.
Yep, I know that. I can. So for you, how much are you aiming to eat and drink during a race? And how much of that do you carry on yourself, or do you pick up at the aid stations? Or
Yeah, we were just talking about this. So at CCC, which was probably my best performance last year, I was able to, of course, win that race. They did numbers of like what I took in. Precision does. So I work really closely with the Precision Fuel and Hydration team. We have meetings before the race where we go through and do my whole entire nutrition plan of exactly how I'm going to execute on race day. They work really closely with me. I've been in the lab testing with them. They come and crew me at most of my races. And it's been a game changer, to be completely honest with you. At CCC, though, my numbers were, I think I hit 112 grams of carbohydrates per hour. And CCC is it was a 10.5 hour race. So I was taking in 112 grams of carbohydrates per hour. And that was primarily the Flow Gel from Precision Fuel and Hydration. I didn't take in anything else except for Flow Gel for carbohydrates. I took in, I think it was 800 this is on average, of course, 800 milliliters of water per hour. And then I took in 900 milligrams of sodium per liter. And that's what you got to remember too, is when you take in sodium or your electrolytes, it's per liter. It's not per hour. A lot of people focus on like, oh, I need to get 500 milligrams per hour. No. It all depends on what your sodium concentration is, and then you have to adapt that with how much you're drinking. So for me, I keep it pretty simple. I take Flow Gel. I've taken that for every race. I did 15 hour or a little less than 15 hours at Western States, completely on Flow Gel, nothing else. I take in plain water, which allows me to get in a lot of hydration. It allows me to get in like more volume of liquid. But of course I want to take in my electrolytes with that, so I take in the electrolyte capsules. My sodium concentration, I've been tested a couple times, is about 900 to 1,100 milligrams per liter. So I was right on that at CCC. So I take in the electrolyte capsules with water, the Flow Gel, and then I take in, that's it. That's it. Yeah. So the Flow Gel is my carbs, the electrolytes are the electrolyte capsules, and then just plain water. And that works for me.
And you just picked that up at the aid station?
I just picked that up at aid stations, yep. I don't really utilize the aid station. I know that's not for everybody. Some people are going to have to use the aid stations. But that being said, if you're going to use the aid stations, you can contact the race, or you can look on the website and see exactly what each aid station is going to provide at crewed station or at aid stations. And then you can start training with that if you know you're going to use it. If you know that you can just carry your own fuel on you, that's probably the best thing to do, is just carry what you know works for you. But if you're going to use aid stations, definitely I would recommend figuring out what's in those aid stations and then training with it. You need to train with all of this before the race. So many people just try and go into a race and wing it and be like, oh, I'm just going to do this and it should work. No. If you haven't trained with it, don't try and switch it up before race day. You can train your gut. Your gut's just like a muscle. It can be trained, and you need to be practicing that in your runs. Any run over 90 minutes, I'm doing race day fueling.
You've probably answered this question already anyway, through a lot of that. So you're at the top of the game last year. Is there anything in your nutrition or training routine that you've changed over the last few years that's made a noticeable difference?
I probably answered it like you said, but just upping my numbers, getting my numbers first, and then being able to hit those numbers. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago I started working with Precision. Before that, I couldn't get in high numbers. I tried so many products. I would get flavor fatigue. I would get just like sick, or my GI would just be not cooperating with me, and it was just so hard. I went to Precision. We got the testing done. We got all the numbers. I started using the product, which is incredible. I've never had flavor fatigue with Precision products, and I'm able to get in really high numbers now. So I went from taking in about 60 grams an hour to now I'm taking in 110 to 120 grams an hour. And I think that's made a huge difference. A very big difference.
Yeah, yep. Time. So we're going to the Curra stuff. Every athlete.
We're back.
Oh, we're back? Okay, we're back. Okay. Every athlete has a unique approach to performance. For you, what has been the biggest factor in ensuring that your body is ready for physical demands of ultra races, especially when the toll that they take on the muscles and the limbs?
Yeah, it's not working again. Hello. Oh, there you go. So I think, like, I stress specificity, being specific. Being, yeah. Yep. Okay, there we go. Being specific, it's not gonna work. Being specific is the most important thing, I think, with ultra running or anything that you really do. You need to be specific on how you train. So like, if you know you're gonna be doing more like runnable trails like there are here in Tarawera, you should be doing most of your training on runnable trails. If you know you're gonna be doing a mountain race that requires vert, you should be doing most of your running in mountain trails or trying to get in vert as much as possible. I know that's not always like possible for everybody, especially if you live in like a flatland and you're trying to run a mountain race. But you can mimic it in different ways, or you can find ways to get around with that. I always focus on just making sure that I'm specific and I'm doing things that I know are going to help me when I encounter certain things in that race. Whether that be like heat training to get ready for a hot race, and just making sure that I prioritize that and find the time to be able to do that. I think like it's also important to like make sure that you are, I guess, taking in things that are going to help you recover. This is one of the reasons why I work with CurraNZ, is CurraNZ has been an aid to really help me recover at a higher rate. I go out there, I work hard, I get specific, I do everything that I possibly can to line up on race day and like be prepared to be able to meet the demands of that race. But if I'm not recovering in between those sessions, if I'm not finding ways to be able to like get through my sessions easier and be able to like recover from those demands that I'm placing on my body, then of course I'm not going to be able to line up. I'm going to line up on race day fatigued. I'm going to line up on race day feeling overtrained or just tired. And CurraNZ has helped me to be able to recover in between sessions. It's helped me with a lot of things that help me adapt to the different circumstances that I'm training for. And that's been like a really key thing for me. And it's like honestly why I continue to use the product.
Good. Let's actually answer that one.
Sorry.
Yeah, no. You've done 2 questions in one then.
Okay.
So you've completed in some of the toughest races in the world in hot conditions. When it comes to preventing the GI issues, what have you found to be most effective in maintaining the edge over long distances when it's getting right up there?
Yeah. So, of course, like when in hot races, like heat training is very important. Hydration is very important. I've talked about that. Another reason why I use CurraNZ as well is CurraNZ has been known to help with GI stress. So I've seen a difference in my GI since taking CurraNZ. It allows me to be able to like have less GI problems, especially in races. So for instance, at Western States and some of these hot races, CCC, Western States were very hot last year. I was actually taking CurraNZ in the race. I think I took them twice during Western States, and then I took it one time during CCC. Because another thing that CurraNZ has been shown to help with is heat management, or I guess the stress that heat places on your body. It helps to, I guess, deal with that a lot better. And so those are kind of some things, like when they reached out to me and asked me like, hey, do you want to like take our product? I really dug into it. I read a lot of the research articles. I really was like, okay, like, does this product work? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna test it and see, and I'm gonna test it to the max. Like, I'm gonna put it through the ringer. I'm gonna put it in like a race like Western States and see how I respond. And there was definitely a big difference between my 2023, like how I managed the heat, how my GI reacted, to the heat and everything else in 2023 compared to 2024. And I think a lot of that was due to how I prepared for the race, but also taking CurraNZ consistently and taking it throughout the race. And so that's been, a key thing for me. And it's one of the reasons why I'm sponsored by CurraNZ.
Nice. A couple other questions here. You and Dan Jones, you mentioned you are great friends and you train together, race against each other and host each other. At what point in the race are you no longer friends?
I just had this question, and I kind of, I was actually doing an interview with Free Trail and Dylan over here at the hotel. And I got a little bit of criticism last year for not being friends with people on race day. I said something like, "Oh, I'm not friends on race day." It was kind of taken out of context. Let's just be real. But to be honest with you, and this is what I told Dylan, I will be the first person to help anybody if they were to call me up and say, "Hey man, I need help." I'm there. I'm the first person to do that. But also, this is a race. It's a competition. I expect my competitors to give me that respect and race me, push me to the limits, get the best out of me. And that's what I want to do to them, is I want to do the same. I'm friends with them before, during, after, but we're also competing. And I want to be in a position where, hey man, I'm going to push you to the limit, but then after I'm going to be your best friend. I'm going to come get you out of a ditch if you need it. I'm going to do whatever you need. And that's kind of how I live life, is I think there's a time and a place for everything. And that's the type of person that I want to be, and I expect my competitors to be the same with me. So me and Dan have talked about this numerous times, and we're best mates, man. I mean, we do everything together. We train together. We dive and spearfish together. We have a great time together. But when it's race day, we're trying to get the best out of each other.
Yeah. Okay. So where do you find your joy with running? What makes it, what makes it fun? We've talked about a few of those things already, but, specifically, what makes it fun?
What makes running fun to me is being able to share the moments with my friends and my family. Having those special moments, like there was a picture taken of me at the end of CCC where it was me, my wife, and my 2 kids at the finish line. And I just remember I was giving my wife a kiss and my kids were looking up at me and my wife and just had this big smile and just this, you could see it in their eyes that they were so happy to be in that moment. And I remember putting my son to bed at the end of that night, and he said to me, "Dad, I want to relive this day." And that meant so much to me, because honestly, that's where I have fun and enjoy this the most, is when I'm able to share those moments with my kids, with my friends, with my families. I live a great life. I'm having so much fun. I mean, heck, I'm in New Zealand for 3 months. I can't complain. I'm having a really good time down here, and I want to continue to keep that ball rolling.
Hey? Okay, so for runners who are stepping up to the ultra marathon, what are healthy goals and what are helpful goals?
Healthy goals and helpful goals.
Helpful goals.
Oh, unhelpful. And what are unhelpful goals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got you there. I was like, I don't know if I understand that. No. I think like, yeah, helpful goal would be like, I think I've kind of answered this, but like, enjoy it, right? Like, spend time with your friends and your family and involve the people that you love in this process. If you focus too much on like trying to, like, there's a time and a place to be dialed and there's a time and a place to work hard. But if you're always in that zone and you're always focused on that and you lose track of what really matters, I think it makes it a bit unfun and unsustainable. Like, there's all these quotes and stuff by athletes that are like, I'm gonna leave no stone unturned, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And like, yeah, I work hard, I try and do that, but like, I don't find that a very joyful and exciting way to live when you're just so focused 24/7. Like, you need to find time to just enjoy the little moments and bring people into the sport that you love and enjoy those moments with them. Like, learn how to like differentiate those moments and learn how to balance that. That's what I was trying to say, is balance. I think balance is the most important thing with this sport, and that's how you're going to get the best out of yourself, is when you find that balance.
All right. Do you want to go into the quick fire ones?
Yeah, just do 5.
We can do them, it's
Yeah,
fine.
there's a lot there.
Oh,
yeah,
We need,
because
just do 5.
yeah, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some quick fire questions here, guys. What's the first thing you do when you wake up before a race, in the morning of the race?
Take a shower. I love a morning shower before the race. Wakes me up, gets me going. Put on some nice pump up music, or not pump up music, but some music while I take a shower, and just get in that headspace. What?
Which music specifically?
Oh, I don't know. Shania Twain. Just kidding.
Okay. What is it? What music do you like?
I'm a country music fan.
Oh yeah.
I grew up in southern Utah. I'm a country boy at heart. I grew up on country music, so I love country music. So yeah, right now my favorite artist is probably Cody Johnson. But yeah, I love country music.
Okay. What's your go-to pre-race meal?
Pizza. I like a good pizza. If I'm in Europe, especially if I'm racing in Italy, I always get a pizza the night before.
Any flavor?
Yeah, just simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a margarita or a cheese or something like that. Or pancakes. I like pancakes and eggs before a race too. Just some easy, simple carbs and simple food.
So pancakes the night before?
Yeah, that's tonight. Tonight I'm doing pancakes
Oh,
and eggs. My kids love breakfast for dinner, so they love the night before a race, so we have a good time.
Okay, if you could run any ultra in the world that you haven't done yet, which one would it be?
UTMB.
Oh, yeah.
I've never actually done the full loop at UTMB. That's always been the race that has really inspired me, and I get the opportunity to do that this year.
Yeah. What's the most unusual thing you've packed for an ultra marathon?
I didn't pack it, but my brother did, and I was pacing him. So there was a race in Georgia that we ran called the Georgia Death Race. Great name. But anyways, they make you pack a railroad spike or a railroad tie, and you have to carry that in your pack the entire race. And it's like a 80-ish mile race. And yeah, you have to carry this railroad spike in your pack. So everybody finds a way to like wrap it up so it doesn't like destroy your back, right? And put a hole in your pack. So yeah, we found a way to make sure it didn't hurt him. But yeah, that was kind of strange, I guess.
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah.
Okay, who is the athlete you admire the most and why? It doesn't have to be ultramarathon.
Yeah. It's a good question. I can do one maybe in and one without. I think in, is probably, I know people say we have a bromance, but Dan Jones, really, the dude inspires me like crazy. Like, I thought I worked hard, and then I started training with Dan, and I was like, holy crap, this is like next level. He is the hardest worker I have ever trained with. He is so intentional about everything, and he makes me a better athlete. Like, he really does. When I train with Dan, I get fit. I always kind of like joke around with him because, of course, he rocked me here 2 years ago. Like, he crushed me here at Tarawera, but now I've beat him in the last 2 races that we ran against each other. And I said, dude, this is all because of you. Like, you're making me fit so I can beat you. And no, we just banter and joke about it. But like, he's just a great person, a great friend. And yeah, I really look up to him. He is a year older than me, so I can look up to him. And then outside of the sport, growing up, I was always a Kobe Bryant fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was his work ethic and his like mentality, that Mamba mentality. He knew how to get in the zone. He knew how to balance with his family. And he was just the hardest worker in the NBA, and he required a lot out of his teammates and his competitors. And I try and be the same type of person.
How do you push through when your body wants to quit during a race?
Yeah, again, going off of the Kobe Bryant type of thing, is I remember reading something about Kobe Bryant, how he would get in these zones where he said he would forget, or he would focus on nothing else around him. The crowd would disappear, everything would disappear, and it would be him, the basketball, and the hoop. And if I can be completely honest with you, I have felt that in racing. I felt it at CCC. It was funny. I had some friends at CCC that apparently I gave them a high five, and they were on part of the course, and they were like cheering me on, and they gave me a high five, and I gave them a high five back. We finished the race. They came to me, and they're like, and I was like, hey guys, I didn't even know you guys were coming to the race. Like, it's so good to see you. And they're like, we saw you right before Champé Lock. You gave us a high five and you smiled and said something to us. And I said, I did? Like, I didn't even remember it.
You're in the zone.
There's moments in these races, and especially when I'm in pain, where I just get in these zones and it's me and the trail. And that's all I can remember. That's all I can focus on. And it's just like a special moment where you lose track of everything. You don't think about anything in life. You don't think about nothing, and you're just like there. And I love being in that zone. I crave it. It's such a special place to be in. It's hard to be in it for very long, but it's a special place to be in, and I try and put myself into that, especially when I'm hurting, because I know if I can be in that zone, I can get to the finish line, and I can usually do pretty well.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received from another runner? Don't say Dan Jones.
No, not that Jones. No, probably one of my buddies early on when I was first getting into the sport. He was a mentor of mine. He said, keep moving forward. He said, don't stop, don't move backwards, move forward. And he said, even if you have to crawl, just keep moving forward. And so that's been like a mentality or a thing with me in my career, is just like, I just got to keep moving forward. Like, don't take steps back. Don't sit here and waste time at aid stations. Get what I need to get done and keep moving forward. And I think if you can keep that mentality, like, it will prevent a lot of DNFs. It'll prevent you from like thinking too much and just being able to like get closer to that finish line.
Yeah. All right, guys. Open up to everyone out here at the moment. Any questions that you've got for Hayden?
Curious, like, what's your strength routine? Just what's like a typical week for strength routine around your running?
Yeah, with strength, like you're talking about like, benching like 300 kilos and stuff, right? Yeah, just kidding. No, I met this dude down in Wellington when I was down there. This big guy, I think he was from Tonga, and he was on the Tongan like national team for weightlifting. And he was telling me he like cleans or something like 370 kilos. This dude was massive. He was a big boy. And I was like, yeah, bro, I'm not anywhere close to that. But he was asking me for advice on strength training. And I was like, I don't know if I should be giving you advice. But no, I try to strength train about 2 or 3 times a week. Usually in the off season is when I lift heavy. I'm still kind of lifting a little bit heavy now. But when I get into like the bulk of my season, so like the block before Western States and then the block in between Western States and UTMB, I do more maintenance. Like I'm focused a little bit more on bands, core work, body weight type stuff, just to maintain the strength that I built in the off season and the early season. But I do lift. I lift pretty heavy in the off season and the early season, at least twice a week, and then I usually do a third day of like core work, mobility, bands, and then as I get into the bulk of my season, I shift it all to bands, core work, mobility, stuff like that.
Thank you.
Sorry, as a rough percentage, how far away from how fit you want to be at Western States are you?
How far away?
Yeah.
I'm not, so it's different, right? Like Western States fitness is different than Tarawera 50K fitness.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm pretty fit right now, speed-wise. I've been doing a good speed block. I'm fast right now. I got enough wheels, I think, to compete against guys like Robbie Simpson here. I don't have the volume and I don't have the long runs in my legs yet. I don't have the strength to be able to run as fast as I need to for as long as I need to at Western States. That will come in the spring. That's the next block, and that's the next 2 blocks of training. So yeah, like it's different type of fitness is what I'm trying to say, but they're each stepping stones or blocks that build on each other so that I can peak when I need to. And of course, I don't want to be peaked right now in February. I want to be peaked the end of June and then again the end of August. So I'm holding back just a little bit and focusing a little bit more on the speed. And then after this, we're heading down to Wanaka for 6 weeks. And I'll put in a nice block down there with some more strength. And then I'll head back home, get back to altitude and back into my mountains. And that will build my strength even more. And so it'll all come together where I'll have that speed, I'll have that strength, and that's what is required to win a race like Western States.
Have you ever raced Tarawera?
Yes.
Did you like it? What would you compare it to with one of your other races?
Yeah, it's a bit more runnable for a European mountain race. It's not super technical. It's what I compare it to. CCC is probably pretty similar comparison, I would say. I loved Lavaredo. Extremely beautiful. One of the most beautiful courses I've ever ran. I love Italy. We've been to Italy countless times. Amazing place, amazing culture. I definitely recommend the race. It's an awesome race.
My husband here is doing it this year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, reach out anytime. I ran in 2018, had a really good day out there. It's a fun race. Yeah.
Have you considered doing longer, like Moab and some of those things? It's a different race again, I know.
Yeah. You bring up Moab. I was crewing a buddy at Moab this last year. I'll do it someday. It's a Utah race too. I'm a Utah boy. I love that race, or I want to do that race someday. Not in the near future. I still have some big goals with, of course, Western States, UTMB, some of those races. But I do think, yeah, Moab, maybe even something like Cocadonia might be on the cards later on. So, yeah, it intrigues me. Yeah.
What was more difficult, Western States or CCC? Because they're similar kind of duration.
Yeah. Western States Western States a bit longer. It's 14, 15 hours. Western, it's gonna be 13 hours this year, but no. But what is harder, Western States? I think just the variability of Westerns. Like CCC is very much a mountain race. It's pretty easy to train for it, especially if you go out and live out there like I do. It's really easy, but it's the same concept across the board. You just up, down, up, down, up, down, right? Western States, what people don't realize about Western States is there are sections of Western States that are very mountainous. The first 30K of Western States has like 2,000 meters. Like that's a pretty good mountain race, right? And then you go into like a 30K-ish section where it's extremely runnable, like downhill pretty much, completely runnable. And then you get into the canyons, and the canyons is like 50K with almost 3,000 meters. So then you're going back into another mountain race. And then of course the last like, whatever it is, 30K, 40K of the race is almost completely flat, except for the last hill up to Roby Point. So yeah, like Western States, it's very difficult because of the different type of training you have to do for it. You have to be in mountain shape and you have to be fast. And you have to be able to like use both at different points in the race. And then on top of that, you have to deal with the heat. I mean, it's 100+ degrees Fahrenheit, you know, on race day there. And it's just like, it's a difficult race. It's one of the hardest races, I think, in the world for that reason. And it's one of the hardest races to like prepare for. It beats you up pretty good. But I love it. I'll keep doing it. I like a good challenge. So.
All right.
Hayden, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Awesome.